labor to earn. We need to stop making issues out of black and white. Let's concentrate on right and wrong.
And now, our voices today.
Why are we led by our pride?
Hello, woo, welcome. Coming in hot. This is the Our Voices Today program on 95.9 FM WOVU, Our Voices United, Burton Bell Car Community Radio, streaming live from WOVU.org and the wonderful WOVU mobile app. I hope everyone is feeling good and feeling well. I hope you had a chance to drink some clean, fresh, and alive water today. I did spend a few minutes watching the water documentary I'm always mentioning. Dr. Masaru Emoto did some research there. You can look that up. Emoto, E-M-O-T-O. Learn about water, okay? And there's a place in Venezuela where the water is like 99.9% untouched by humans. So it's very alive. So, do your best. Give your glass a swirl. Write love on your water bottle and permanent marker so that you can enliven and infuse your water with the energy that you want to feel. We put that in our body. Also, our bodies are full of water, and water has memory. Give your body water. Good memories, and also and good energy. All right, moving on. I hope you also had a chance to eat some tasty, nutritious, high vibrational food. High vibrational food is really food that is alive. Shout out to Chef Babette. I discovered her on the YouTube, and she is a raw vegan. She's 72 years old, and she looks like she's 25. And she didn't even start her raw vegan journey until she was 40 or in her 40s years of age. So it's never too late. And I hope you got a chance to get some good, high quality REM sleep. Did you have a dream? Share your dreams with me. Hello? Call the WOVU Talkback line, 216-200-7848. 216-200-7848. And much love to everyone who has left a message, saying how much they love WOVU. So we are here, ladies and gentlemen, dearly beloved. We are gathered here today on this day to give you another edition of Life and the Law with our friends from the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland, located at 1223 West 6th Street. You can give the intake line a call if you are having any issues with, basic life stuff, food, housing, Social Security benefits, any government benefits, having problems with your kids and, sanctions from the school system. Call Legal Aid. They have a law group that deals with that. Discrimination, maybe. I don't know. Josh and Bilal are here. They'll tell us all about it. But you can call the intake line, 888, especially housing. Did I say that already? Shout out to Rui for always reminding us about the tenant line. But in general, call 888-817-3777, 888-817-3777, and the folks at Legal Aid, they'll get you together. And if they can't, they'll point you in the direction of help and guidance. I just want to make sure you are aware that there are two legal advice, brief advice clinics coming up. One is actually tomorrow at the Justice Center, the Common Pleas Court Advice Clinic. It's by appointment only, so you do want to get in touch with Legal Aid if you need to make that development. And actually, I can give you the number to call to register: 216-443-8875, 216-443-8875 to register for tomorrow's Common Pleas Court Advice Clinic. And then on July 25th, there's just a general brief advice clinic. If you have any questions about a legal situation, perhaps a problem related to money, housing, family, employment, or other issues that impact your life that aren't criminal, stop by the free legal aid brief advice clinic. It will be at McGregor Home. The address 14900 Private Drive. Listen, if your street is named Private, you are very private. 14900 Private Drive in Cleveland. The zip code 44112. July 25th from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. If you missed any of that, you can certainly leave a voicemail or send a text to the talkback line, and I'll send you that information. You can also visit the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland website at lasclev.org. lasclev.org. You can get the information about the brief advice clinics and anything else, actually everything else that has to do with the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland. So we are going to go ahead and get into our conversation for today. I'm going to introduce our guest voices, live and direct from the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland offices, brought to you by the wonderful Laura Klingler. Shout out to Laura Klingler for always giving us, great curation of these conversations. Laura Klingler, the Development and Communications Senior Manager. She's experienced, but shout out to Laura. She's going to laugh when she hears me say all that. But here with us today, talking about being a smart and savvy borrower. That's a word I always get tripped up on, but not today. Borrower. So you need some money. You need a loan for school, for your house, for paying bills. We get those loans to bring down the credit card debt. We're going to talk about that and more with our guests. Please welcome to the program, our guest, welcome back to be exact, Josh Rovinger, Supervising Attorney in Legal Aid's Economic Justice Group. Hello, Josh. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Great to have you back. And you have brought with you a wonderful, just a delight. And I'm going to remember to say his name correctly, Bilal Muzaffar. Did I get it?
Yes, that's correct.
Awesome. Bilal is a summer associate in Legal Aid's Economic Justice Group, a law student at Indiana University. How's your time? How's your summer been with Legal Aid?
My summer's been great. I've been surrounded by some wonderful attorneys. Josh is my supervisor, and it's been great just working on different economic justice projects, and it's just been a pleasure this summer.
Yeah. So welcome. So Josh, talk to us about a little bit about economic justice before we get into the meat of the matter, borrowing. Yeah, what's economic justice?
For sure. So our group covers a range of different substantive areas. So, for instance, I specialize in student loans. Mm-hmm. We also do employment discrimination work. If someone has been the victim of wage theft, we have a bankruptcy practitioner. Mm-hmm. We have someone to help with taxes. We do some debt collection defense work, foreclosure defense, unemployment assistance, kind of a range of issues related to money.
Money, yep. Get that bag, that we like to talk about. So thank you for breaking that down for us. So right in line with that, of course, we're going to be talking about borrowing, what borrowers should know about loan terms, what resources are available, and how to spot a scam. So let's just get into it. I'm going to ask you, Josh, what are some of the questions, whether we need to borrow money for school, for a mortgage, for a car? We even borrow money for our cell phones. Those are finance. So what questions should we be asking that most people don't ask before taking out a loan?
Sure. There are a whole bunch of questions, that I think folks can consider when they're looking at financing. For example, what's the interest rate going to be, and is the interest rate going to change over time? Another question would be who's the lender? Who's the entity that's actually lending me this money? Are they kind of trusted and reputable? Questions about kind of prepayment of the loan. So oftentimes folks will come into some money and they'll want to make a bulk payment on it to try and get ahead of, and they'll want to look at whether there's any penalty for doing that, or whether they can make those bulk payments and ensure that they just go to the principal of the loan. Okay. I think Bilal may have some other thoughts on this one too.
Okay.
Yeah. You also want to ask yourself, what's my credit score? So that can kind of influence like what type of loan you can take out. So there's certain loans that involve like a line of credit where you kind of just have like a fund that you can access at any time.
Right.
And if you have a higher credit score, then that can be something that you can look into. If you have a lower credit score, then you might want to look into like payday loans, which is something that you would have to pay back after every paycheck that you get. And you also want to ask like, what's my plan if I'm making income right now and I like suddenly stop making income? What's my plan to continue paying back this loan if that is to happen?
Wow. So not only questions to ask the lender, but questions to ask yourself.
Exactly.
Wow. What's my plan to pay it back? Most of us, well, I'll speak for myself, I would just think about, all right, securing the funds so that I can take care of whatever the issue is, and don't really think beyond that. So that's good to have a plan to pay it back. And also, whatever happens when you can't pay it back? Talk to us about some of the ways consumers get kind of tripped up in these loan situations. I even found out, although I knew this, but I was reminded that banks can give you trade lines, so that you don't overdraft, so that when you overdraft on your account, you can move that money to prevent a fee. But anyway, talk to us about ways that people can really get into hot water with these.
Yeah, so some of the things we've seen in the past are one, loans where there's kind of ballooning interest rates longer term, and so it'll be something that's affordable on the front end, but then as the interest rate grows, it becomes unaffordable. So, when you look back at like the foreclosure crisis, we saw a lot of entities specifically targeting people with kind of those predatory products. Another issue is that, particularly when you think about like student loans, loan servicers can change, and borrowers may just kind of lose touch with who they're supposed to be paying.
Right.
And then they're in a situation where they can fall into delinquency or default on their loans. Other kind of problems that we see are in the payday lending world specifically. There is often significant interest rates just from the get-go, and folks can fall into a pattern of owing significant money from the get-go, and then that just kind of spiraling out of control. That's
very tricky. It's a very slippery slope. So another question, when we are applying for a loan, we get a positive response. Yes, you've been approved. Can you, do you have to accept the terms as they are, or can you negotiate the terms of a loan with a lender?
Yeah, so there's nothing stopping you from asking a lender to negotiate with you on some of these terms. What happens in some situations is that, if you're dealing with like a bigger company that, provides like the same type of loan to a bunch of different people, what happens is they might have like a standardized like contract or something like that they're
Right.
not really willing to budge on. But it's always worth asking them. You should read through each term and think, is that something that I actually will be able to like follow through on, or
Yeah.
is that something that I like? And if not, it's always worth just asking, hey, can we maybe negotiate on this a little bit?
Right.
And I would just add on to that even if once you get a loan offer, there may be other lenders out there who will offer you better terms, and so there's nothing stopping you from kind of taking that offer that you have and,
Right.
and exploring it with other lenders.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, take what you've been offered and shop around. There's nothing wrong with getting a second opinion, even a third and a fourth, just like we can do with our health care or health providers, etc. Okay. So we are here with Josh Rovinger and Bilal Muzaffar. They are our friends from the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland Economic Justice Group. We are talking about borrowing money, how to be smart about getting a loan and the things you want to ask your lender and yourself. So if you have any questions in the meantime, as we go through this conversation, feel free to drop a note on the talkback line. Again, 216-200-7848, 216-200-7848. We'll be right back to continue this edition of Life and the Law, conversations about your rights from the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland, right here on the Our Voices Today program, 95.9 FM, WOVU. We'll be back after these messages.
Never taught or told to never stop fighting. Don't ever quit just 'cause the rich get richer and the poor don't get. Excuse me, but I get so mad. Where could we have?
Do you rent your home? Do you have questions about your rights and responsibilities as a tenant? Call Legal Aid's Tenant Information Line at 216-861-5955, and a legal aid housing specialist will return your call within 2 business days between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. That's 216-861-5955.
This message is brought to you by the Legal Aid Society and WOVU 95.9 FM. Our Voices United, a Burton Belcar community radio station. Have you ever been inside a fire truck?
No!
Me either. But come Saturday, July 29th, I plan to change that at the Public Safety Fair, happening at the Lee and Harvard Plaza. From 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., you'll be able to interact with our public safety officers for a fun-filled day and learn all about the safety divisions in Cleveland, Ohio. There'll be fire truck and cop car tours with free food and smoothies while supplies last. Come interact with police horses or play with a canine dog or ride around the parking lot in one of the Doom buggies. The fire department is also bringing out their smokehouse to help them show you how to move through a smoke-filled space in the event of a fire. That's Saturday, July 29th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. right at the Lee and Harvard Plaza, 4107 Lee Road. For more information, visit clevelandohio.gov/public safety. This message is brought to you by the City of Cleveland's Department of Public Safety and WOVU 95.9 FM. Our Voices United, a Burton Belcar community radio station.
In the car, on your phone, when you leave home, you're never alone. Download the 95.9 FM WOVU mobile app for your Apple or Android mobile device.
It's time to make the short story longer. Yeah.
Welcome back to the Our Voices Today program, 95.9 FM WOVU. We are here with our friends from Legal Aid Society of Cleveland talking about your rights as a borrower when you take out a loan, you got to know what's going on. And here to break it all down for us is Josh Rovinger. He is the supervising attorney for Legal Aid's Economic Justice Arm Group. I'll say group. Okay. And also our summer associate, Bilal Muzaffar, straight out the streets of Indianapolis, a wonderful law student here with us today. So again, if you or someone you know have any issues with, legal stuff that's not criminal, fundamental life sustaining issues, call the Legal Aid intake line 888-817-3777. That's 888-817-3777. And you can always go online to the website lasclev.org, lasclev.org, and the wonderful folks will, get you together. So we're talking about loans, and I did go to Google and I lost it, but I typed in types of loans, and what came up even before I hit enter, we could get loans for homes, for college, for investment properties, getting loans from banks, for home renovations. It says rental properties, graduate school, for land, loans for multifamily properties, and like the most common loan, I think, is for the cell phone. We make those payments every month for your cell phone. I can't believe cell phones cost like over $1,000. That's crazy. Anyway, you got to be careful and know what you're doing. So, let's see. Scooting back over to there. Oh, sorry guys, my computer is acting up. All right, so what can you guys tell us about scams? Let's get into that part. That's the juicy nugget here. How do we spot a scam when we're looking for a loan? How do we, if we get caught up in something that turns out to be a scam, how do we get out of it? How can you guys help us?
Yeah, it's super important to look out for scams. I mean, it's really unfortunate because, people who need to borrow money, people know that those people are, kind of vulnerable sometimes, and so they take advantage of them. So it's really important to look out for scams. Mm-hmm. So some important red flags that you can look out for. So if there's someone who says, oh, you need to pay up front, otherwise we won't be able to loan you any money, that is a red flag. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Right? And if they say, we need your social security information before we can help you in any type of way, that is also a scam. And one other thing is, especially with like the bigger, like legit loan servicers, they'll typically have like templates for like communications that they send out to you that will have things that have been like spell checked and things like that.
Right.
So if you notice like typos and things like that,
that's right.
That's probably likely, that might not be like a legitimate company or things like that. And a lot of times, they can really get people with these really like official sounding names and these like logos that just like look really legitimate. Mm-hmm. So just, do your due diligence. If you can, do a Google search and just try to see reviews and maybe see, like how legit that actually is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another big kind of red flag is just them trying to create a sense of urgency, that you have to do this right now or it's just not going to be available. Mm-hmm. That's, again, these red flags are just things to think about and consider. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a scam, but just to kind of raise that in your mind. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, a lot of these entities are really sophisticated and can succeed in getting people to take out kind of these products that they shouldn't. Yeah. And if you find yourself in that situation, there are federal agencies that you can file reports with and that will potentially look into the matter, like the Federal Trade Commission or the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And there are also state entities as well, like the State Attorney General's Office.
Are there more reliable lenders that we can identify, as opposed to, how you get those offers in the mail, say you've been pre-approved for this loan. I get them all the time. Or they could be an email saying you've been pre-approved or check this out. Is it worth it to check out those quote unquote opportunities, or should we just go to a bank or like a traditional lending situation?
Yeah, it's hard to answer it kind of in the abstract. I think, my first step would be just Googling the name of the entity if it was something that, I needed and looked interesting. A lot of them will look really official. A lot of them will look like they're from the government even. And those, you want to be really careful with. My first step would always, if I'm considering it, would be a quick Google search and seeing what's out there.
Yeah. And maybe even, I was going to say maybe even take that to the bank and ask them, is this real? I mean, they're likely to say like, I don't know, maybe not, but check out this one. We got one for you here. Anyway, what about, I was going to ask a question about credit unions. Are those credit unions seem to be, from what I'm learning, a safe bet for banking in general, but also in your professional opinion, and I know you're on the legal side of things, not necessarily on the consumer side, but do we have a better chance of getting a fair shot at a credit union, if you know?
I think like anything else that a lawyer will tell you, it depends.
That's my favorite phrase from you guys.
It's always the go-to. Credit unions are an important and can be a really vital resource for communities, particularly lower income communities and marginalized communities, and can be a really effective kind of financial resource out there. But like anything else, it depends on the specific bank, depends on the specific credit union.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's shift over to student loans. That is a big topic of contention right now, especially with the Supreme Court decision to stop the program that was going to forgive, between $10,000 and $20,000 for borrowers of a specific type. Can you give us what you know about that situation, and then get into student loans in general? What should we be thinking about, especially during this time? It's back to school. New college students are heading out. They're signing their names to documents. Their parents are signing documents to make them financially liable for, these large sums of money. Just talk to us about student loans. Yeah.
Sure. So I'll start with the Supreme Court case. So Legal Aid actually, along with the Student Borrower Protection Center, led a coalition of 72 legal aid organizations and borrower advocacy organizations in submitting a brief in that case with the Supreme Court, arguing that the cancellation program would have a really significant effect on our client population. We're disappointed in the Supreme Court's ruling, and so the result of that ruling is that as you said, the president's cancellation program announced last year will not move forward. But as the president himself has recognized, he has other tools in the toolkit. There are a lot of other authorities under federal law which allow for the Department of Education to cancel student debt. It is a routine tool that they utilize. And immediately after the decision, the president announced that they were going to start embarking on that process to see if they could develop a rule or a regulation that would create a different cancellation program.
Right. Okay.
And for kind of separate and apart from the cancellation program, I think there are kind of two separate questions. One is for those who are borrowers already and who might not have had to make a payment over the past 3 years because of the COVID payment pause. I think the big thing there for borrowers to know is that payment pause is coming to an end in September, which means borrowers will receive their first bills in October. And so borrowers right now should be reaching out to their loan servicer or logging into their federal student aid account and just making sure that all of their contact information is accurate so that they receive the bills when they come. And then they also want to be thinking about kind of what repayment plan makes the most sense for their situation. For a lot of borrowers, that's going to be an income-driven repayment plan that ties their payment amount to their income, which for a lot of borrowers can be $0 a month.
I'm raising my hand.
Yeah, and you know, one of the things that we're seeing right now is the Biden administration is just finalizing some changes to the income-driven repayment plans, and there's this modified plan now called the SAVE plan,